Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Wacky and Weird Wednesday, as we're covering the wacky and weird stories that are going on this week and maybe even the week before. We've got animals, we've got people doing weird things. That's all what this episode is about here on Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our news stories 10 to 15 minutes before we start the show, and we haven't had any caffeine. So bring up your cup, wake up, and let's get into these headlines for today's show. Today on Before Coffee, it was like a TV show. Massive sinkhole sparks utter panic as homes evacuated in Surrey.
And this is Roger from the United States. Scientists put a human language gene into mice and changed their voice. Plus, researchers find an abundance of animals in Florida City sewers.
French lawmakers rule banning headscarves in sports. Amnesty International says that's discriminatory.
And an exoplanet with iron rain has violent winds like something out of science fiction.
With metal detectors and patience, amateur treasure hunters unearthed pieces of British history.
And it's National Lash Day. Eyelash Day. I don't know why they say lash. It's Eyelash Day, February 19th, 2025 on Before Coffee.
Yeah, lashes. That makes me think of whips, not eyelashes. So I guess they're just trying to make it into a new slang word or something.
Lash. Yeah, for being a little lashy today.
I do appreciate a good eyelash.
Right. Spin the wheel of fate.
Segways of fate.
All
right, let's get our wheel rolling here. You finally done it. You got a limerick. After all this time, after all this suffering.
I don't know. Doesn't mean I'm doing anything good. It just means I got a limerick.
All right, let's go for my only story, actually, which is about a sinkhole. You can rhyme stuff with sinkhole. Alexander Butler on The Independent is reporting this story. A mother of two were forced to evacuate their home after a 65-foot sinkhole opened on her doorstep. So how was she able to evacuate? Probably through the garden. And they described the utter panic of escaping in the night. Oh, this happened at night too. Oh, that's terrible. Noshmiri of Godstone, Surrey, scrambled for her belongings and rushed to leave her terraced house with her husband and children at 11:30 p.m. on Monday, which was, the 17th of February. It was definitely nothing I've ever experienced in real life. It resembled something you would see in a TV show. It was really scary, Miss Miri told BBC News. As I ran downstairs and opened the front door, it sounded like I was in a waterfall because the sinkhole was right on my doorstep. It was utter panic. Surrey County Council declared a major incident on the 18th as police told residents to get out as quickly as possible for fears of an explosion caused by exposed cables. Up to 30 homes have been evacuated as the abyss swallowed up at least one garden by the 18th on the afternoon. Ms. Miri has prepared to be away from her home for a good couple of months after she was moved into a temporary accommodation. Residents Nicola and Damien Stiles, 46 and 44, also described the shock of being awoken by police in the middle of the night. We just sort of grabbed everything, clothes on our back and our work laptops, and drove out quickly. We didn't know how long we were going to be out for, Mr. Stiles said. Kevin Bowles, 62, added, "What did scare me is that I've seen this size of hole and what was going on out there. I've seen the amount of services that were here. No one had seen this coming. No one has seen this coming at all. Not this massive sinkhole, when there's brand new flats just adjacent to it as well." Oh wow, they're just building new buildings and then a sinkhole. Or maybe they unlodged something. Alan and Tracy Jones, 75 and 61, who lived on Godstone High Street, took in their daughter, her husband, and their baby girl at midnight on the 18th after police told them to evacuate their flat across the road, whose building now stands on the edge of the sinkhole. Mrs. Jones said, "It's an absolute nightmare. Dreadful. The family arrived at midnight. The police started to evacuate because there was a fear of gas explosion." Mr. Jones said, "It's very concerning. You know it's a massive incident because of all the guys that are down here and all the utility companies are here. Well, yeah, you want to make sure the whole freaking neighborhood doesn't sink because they're going to have to pay for it, maybe. Well, they have to find out who did it. That's probably also why there's so many surveyors. What caused this? It was the water company. Okay, well, they're going to have to pay for it." That's really why they're there. To see who has to pay for it. SES Water said one of its water main pipes had burst on the street, and packs of water bottles were distributed to locals on the 18th at night, as their homes were left without running water. "That's the worst thing, you know," Mr. Jones said. "The daughter and her husband have gone down to a friend in Whiteleaf to have a shower, but we've got no information whatsoever. Nothing at all." Surrey County Council spokesperson said, "We are working together with the emergency services and utility companies, as well as our highways colleagues in Pendridge District Council to protect the public and property in the area. Investigations are continuing to make the area safe and to repair utilities, and we ask that people remain away from the vicinity while that important work is ongoing. We will keep people updated on the situation develops. Residents from within the cordon, around 30 properties, are being supported by Pendridge District Council with advice around accommodation. Highways diversions are also in place. The local resilience forum will continue to meet throughout this incident to ensure everything is being done to resolve the situation as quickly and safely as possible." So there's your news on the giant. Wow. It's not really that big. It's big, but it's not that big. It makes it sound like a whole bunch of houses have been swallowed up, but really only a garden has been swallowed up, and we're talking British gardens. They're not very big. To American standards, anyways. So well, hopefully they can stop the sinkhole from spreading and figure out how to what caused it too, because you don't want another one of those happening in the middle of the night like it did this time. But there's my story.
Okay, the name of that town was Godstone, Surrey. Is that what you said?
Yep, Godstone, Surrey.
Okay. A family in Godstone, Surrey were alarmed and had to act in a flurry. When they sat down to sup, the earth opened up, then they had to leave home in a hurry.
A good one. There we go.
Surrey and hurry rhyme.
It's hard, huh? Quite hard.
It's fun, man. I think it's fun. Anyway. Plus, I get to use a pencil.
All right, I have to do a haiku. Right. So,
you do? Okay, haiku on... I got two stories. The first story is researchers find abundance. This is from UPI.com, Ben Hooper. Always get this. I'm going to start talking, man. Researchers find abundance of animals in Florida city sewers, UPI.com. The University of Florida research team set up cameras in the sewers of Gainesville and documented 35 different animal species, including raccoons and alligators. Alan Ivory, a doctoral student and lead author of the research published in the Journal of Urban Naturalists, said he and his team set up 39 cameras in 33 stormwater sewers in Gainesville in attempts to document the use of underground tunnels by wildlife over a period of 60 days. The researchers ended up with 3,800 sightings of 35 animal species, including 50 alligator sightings. It's like something out of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ivory told the New York Times. The abundance of animals down there is surprising. Ivory said the gators mostly seem to be using the sewers as passageway between ponds, but some appear to be using the tunnels to hunt for fish. It's almost as if they were cornering the fish into a dead end, using the human infrastructure to help them forage, Ivory said. The research team said they also documented about 1,800 raccoon sightings, and the animals would sometimes walk off with the cameras. We would have raccoons steal cameras every now and then, Ivory said. They would climb up the ladders and tear them off the manholes. Other animals caught on the camera included bats, armadillos, and 12 species of birds. So you can write a haiku about that, or you can go to my next story about strangeness in the animal kingdom. This is from ScienceAlert.com. Carly Casella. Scientists put a human language gene into mice and changed their voice. That's right. A new contender for human language gene can change the way that mice squeak when it's incorporated into their DNA. The gene is called the Nova1, and in our own species, it's remarkably unique. While virtually all other animals have the same Nova1 variant in their genetic code, a single change of an amino acid is seen in the human version. This one, subtle tweak, may have played a critical role in the origins of spoken language and the expansion and survival of Homo sapiens, according to researchers at the Rockefeller University in the Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory in New York. Yeah, it was a mutation a long time ago where humans that could communicate better got through life better and they survived. Massive catastrophes, perhaps even fires, floods. Not even Neanderthals or Denisovans, which is a new term to me, Denisovans, had the same variant, which means it must have evolved in the last few 100,000 years after our species split from these extinct relatives. Other proposed language genes like FOXP2, which also make mice squeak differently, are found in the DNA of the Neanderthals. So even though they probably also contributed to the origins of human language, they may not be responsible for our more recent evolutionary success. It is not clear what the language capabilities of our extinct relatives once were, but this recent change has proved highly successful in the human genome. In more than 650,000 human DNA sequences, researchers found only 6 anonymous people who did not have the modern Nova1 variant. Nothing about these individuals is known. Maybe they can't talk. When it comes to the origins of complex human language, Nova1 is the new kid on the block. Geneticist Wolfgang Enard, who worked on the FOXP2 gene, told Carl Zimmer at the New York Times. The gene is part of a sweeping evolutionary change in early modern humans and hints at potential ancient origins of spoken language, says neuro-oncologist Robert Darnell from Rockefeller University, who has been studying the gene and its links to disease and intellectual function since the early 1990s. Nova1 may be a bona fide human language gene, though certainly it's only one of many human-specific genetic changes. When Darnell and his team artificially generated the human variant of Nova1 in mice, they found that the rodents squeaked differently. Adults and pups still made the same amount of noise, but their vocalization patterns had changed. Compared to a typical mice, genetically modified pups made higher frequency ultrasonic squeaks. Their calls didn't get their mother's attention any more than the calls of a control pup, but these sounds may indicate an increased attempt at social interaction, albeit a failed one. Higher frequency calls are also used by adult male mice during courtship for similar reasons. When adult male mice were genetically altered with the human Nova1 variant, their squeaks during courtship didn't become higher pitched like the pups. Instead, their vocalizations included more complex syllables. They talked differently to the female mice. Hey, baby. That's a nice slice of cheese you got there. He explains, Darnell, one can imagine how such changes in vocalization could have a profound impact on evolution. Why the mice sound different with the human Nova1 variant is a mystery that Darnell said he and his colleagues are keen to solve. The team suspects that the human variant is causing molecular shifts in some parts of the developing rodent brain, whether it be vocal pathways of the midbrain and mid-brainstream, or more recently evolved regions of the cortex, which control pitch and frequency. The Nova1 gene is known as the master gene regulator because it influences more than 90% of other human genes during development. Nova1 encodes a protein called Nova1. Yeah, that's right. It encodes a protein named after itself that can cut out and rearrange sections of the messenger RNA when it binds to neurons. This changes how brain cells synthesize proteins, probably creating a molecular diversity in the central nervous system. When Darnell and his team humanized mice with the Nova 1 variant, they found molecular changes in RNA splicing seen in brain cells, especially in regions associated with vocal behavior. We thought, wow, we did not expect that, Darnell says. It was one of those really surprising moments in science. For Darnell, understanding the Nova 1 has been a career-long effort. Nova 1 is thought to help regulate learning in humans, and mutations in this gene can cause severe psychiatric disorders and abnormalities in motor development. Oh, yay! Its role in speech development is just starting to emerge, and while much remains hypothetical, the possibilities are profound. Our data show that an ancestral population of modern humans in Africa evolved the human variant in the human variant, what is it, I197B, which then became dominant, perhaps because it conferred advantages related to vocal communications, suggests Darnell. The population then left Africa and spread across the world, no doubt having a chat on the way. He makes a small joke at the end. There's a story on the gene that controls our speech patterns and how it's evolved and made us survive somehow. 90% of our functions, actually. 90% of our human functions that make us human, from our ability to use tools and all that shit. There's your story.
All right. Well, a gator was hunting. Gator hunting fish. Raccoon stealing cameras swift. New mice language squeak. There you go. There's your haiku.
Okay, all right. Okay, squeak.
Okay, let's roll the wheel for your segue. You need to use an accurate metaphor.
Boy, I gotta make up a metaphor. All right.
Or simile.
Mm-hmm.
In wacky news, let's talk about banning headscarves in sports. Now, I think banning anything people are allowed to wear is weird. And I don't know why it matters in sports of all places. I think everyone should wear headscarves in sports. That makes your hair less of a problem, in my opinion. But it's France. France, the same country which I think 2 weeks ago was trying to curb anti-Semitism, is applying some more Semitism because, fun fact, people of Middle Eastern descent are also counted in Semitism. Okay? That's what the word means. People from the Middle East, that's what it means. So it's not just Jewish people, it's also people who may be practicing Islam. This is by Samuel Petrequin on AP News. Amnesty International is urging French lawmakers to reject a bill this week that would ban headscarves in all sporting competitions. The bill is backed by wow, no one ever saw this coming, right-wing senators who will be debating this from yesterday, which was the 18th, in the upper house of French Parliament. Its aim is to ban all ostensibly religious clothing and symbols during competition. Amnesty International says the move would be discriminatory. The vote is likely to refuel the lingering debate on secularism, still volatile more than a century after the 1905 law on separation of church and state that established it as the principle of French Republic. That makes it sound, I'm getting into this whole idea. Okay, so if we want to separate church from state, that's fine. I'm American, so I can totally understand that. What I don't understand here is, are they saying that any sport competition is a symbol of the state and thus needs to be separated from religion? Is that what they're arguing here? Because I don't like that. I don't like the idea that every sport you conduct, if you want to break the world record of women's, high jump, that makes you a nationalistic symbol and figure just from that.
Right.
I personally think sports, while they can be used as a very important marker for culture and celebrating national and patriotic identity, are also individual things, okay? It's one person who says, I'm going to do this. And maybe they want to do it because they want to be, Yeah, I'm just saying maybe they want to do it because they want to be like, I'm doing this for France. That's fine. But I just don't like the line we're drawing here, which is that you can draw this line with anything. That's all. Right? Oh, you can't do that because it's against the law to have this.
You're wearing that head thing.
Yeah.
A headscarf.
You're now a government body, so you're not allowed to do this. That's why I'm worried about this law, because it's saying that if they label you as a government body or a state body that's representing the government, they can control what you do. They can censor you, and that's not what I'm cool with here in this law. I don't think anybody should be censoring wearing any kind of religious clothing to begin with, because does it hurt your feelings? I'm not sure why we care, but I guess there's people who are still fighting over these things. I'm not one of them, so I just don't relate to it. Okay. Until now, sporting federations have been free to decide whether or not to allow headscarves, with two of the country's most powerful sports, soccer and rugby, opting to ban them. The bill is at an early stage, and this week's vote marks the beginning of a long legislative process with an uncertain outcome. I mean, what if everyone just starts wearing, like, swim caps? You know?
Dude,
this isn't a headscarf.
You're throwing out similes like crazy right now.
Yeah, sorry.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm just saying, what if people just started wearing swim caps? Is that not going to be allowed because that could be seen as religious? I don't know. The bill's on early stage.
Let me cross that one off.
You don't have to, by the way, you don't have to lean into the mic to talk, because when you do that, you're yelling and it's very loud.
I'm just not sure you can hear me otherwise.
I can hear you when you're right there. Perfectly fine. Okay. Anyways, the bill is at an early stage, and this week's vote marks the beginning of a long legislative process with an uncertain outcome. Even if the senators vote in favor, the bill's future will remain unclear since the lower house has the final say. So they're voting in the upper house right now and have to send it to the lower house. To pass, the bill will need a coalition of forces that don't usually collaborate in the deeply divided lower house. Amnesty International's calls come from French sprinter Sinkholes, said last summer she was barred from the opening ceremony at the Paris Olympics because she wears a hijab. She was eventually allowed to take part in wearing a cap to cover her hair, which is tragically sad, but it's one way to rebel against the law, I would argue. Hey, you can't wear a hijab. Okay, I'll wear a swim cap. You can tell swimmers they can't wear swim cap? Well, you're not from the swim team. I don't care. Oh, now we're going to say who's allowed to wear swim caps depending on what thing we're doing? France has enforced the strict principle of laïcité, loosely translated as secularism. At the Games, the president of the French Olympic Committee said its Olympians were bound by secular principles that apply to public sector workers in the country, which include a ban on hijabs and other religious signs. Yeah, I'm sure there aren't people wearing cross necklaces under their shirts. But I guess as long as you don't see it, it's okay. At the Paris Olympics...
What if you got a tattoo?
Yeah. At the Paris Olympics, France's ban on French women athletes who wear headscarves from competing at the Games drew international outrage, said Anna Blouse, an Amnesty International researcher on gender injustice. Just 6 months on, French authorities are not only doubling down on discriminatory hijab ban, but attempt to extend it to all sports. Experts appointed by the UN Human Rights Council have previously criticized the decision by the French Soccer and Basketball Federation to exclude players wearing hijab, and the French government's decision to prevent its athletes wearing headscarves from representing the country at the Paris Games. Amnesty International said the bill in reality targets Muslim women and only them, and girls by excluding them from sporting competitions if they wear a headscarf or other religious clothing. Laïcité, which is theoretically embedded in the French Constitution to protect everyone's religious freedom, has often been used as a pretext to block Muslim women's access to public spaces in France, Amnesty International said. 100% agree with this. This is just a fact. You found somebody that you can stigmatize and then you do it, and that's what's happening here. No one's ever said French people were nice, but this is definitely going, supporting that idea that they just want to make others, and they're othering Muslim and women and girls. We must have another. Those people look different. Over several years, the French authorities have enacted laws and policies to regulate Muslim women and girls' clothing in discriminatory ways. Sport federations have followed suit, imposing hijab bans in several sports. 2 years ago, France's highest administrative court said the country's soccer federation was entitled to abandon headscarves in competitions, even though the measure can limit freedom of expression. Wielding the principle of religious neutrality enshrined in the Constitution, the country's soccer federation also does not make things easy for international players who want to refrain from drinking or eating from dawn to sunset during Ramadan, Islamic holy month. Yeah, exactly. Do they do the same thing to Jews? Jews also have a period where they can't eat and stuff. I'm just saying, right? This is specifically an anti-Islamic thing, and that's it.
All right.
Christians also have a period where they're not supposed to eat, like Lent is supposed to be that stuff as well. I know nobody practices it anymore, but it is supposed to be. Supporters of the bill cite growing attacks on secularism in sports, arguing that its core values are based on the principle of universality. Of hating Islam, I think. The universality of hating Islam. The project to protect sport grounds from any non-sporting competition. They say, if we just make everyone Christian, then they can't fight, right? Nobody else but Christianity is allowed. Then nobody will fight each other. A principality of neutrality needs to be implemented to ensure that no political, religious, or racial demonstrations or propaganda can be promoted. Unless it's our propaganda. The bill also states that using parts of a sports facility as a place of worship would be a misuse of its purpose. That's not what that's for. You can't do that here. And bans the wearing of religious clothing such as burkini in public swimming pools. By placing the wearing of a headscarf on the spectrum of attacks on secularism, which range from permissiveness to terrorism, the legislation, if passed, would fuel racism and reinforce the growing hostile environment facing Muslims and those perceived by Muslims as Muslim in France, Amnesty International says. 100% agree. The more you point out those guys are different, the more people around you are going to be like, oh, they are different. Maybe we should do some hate crimes. Maybe we should kill them all. They're different.
They're singled out. They're causing
stop
problems.
Singling them out. Who cares? Why do we care if people are wearing bikinis at the public swimming pool? Oh, I can't see your hair. I'm going to die. Do they know Jewish people wear wigs? But they're not going to ban that, right? Hey, you can't wear your Jewish wig. That's not allowed.
No, maybe
only your real hair. No, they're not going to say that. They'll be called anti-Semites for saying that.
I assume if somebody showed up wearing a wig, they would say, "Get that fucking wig off your head."
I mean, they better be, because that's against secularism. Jewish women wearing wigs is against secularism, France. Do you know that? Are you going to say something? No, I didn't think so. Well, let's stop pretending here. France has been notoriously anti-Islam for as long as I've been alive. Probably even longer. I don't know. I haven't studied the topic myself, but it's been going on. So it's really cute that they try to act like they're doing something to protect secularism in their constitution. All they're doing is using that as a defense to be racist, anti-Islamic, and just cruel to people who just want to practice their beliefs in a public space, or I should say even be outside. Because if Muslim women aren't allowed to practice their beliefs, which is, hiding their hair, in some cases even hiding their faces, they just don't leave the house. And then you never see them, then they stop existing, and then you can marginalize them even more, because Muslim women, I don't even know what that is anymore, because they don't exist. Muslim women in France, those don't exist. We got rid of those 10 years ago. No, they're still here, getting abused by their husbands because they don't have any protections, because they've been deleted as a faction in the French populace. Anyways, there's a wacky weird news about France being hypocrites, as usual. Reminder that France is also the people who helped put holes in the AI bill. I can't forgive France for anything. I'm so pissed at them right now. They're acting like they're better than everyone, and then they're just poking holes in things. But there's my story.
Well, you done an anti-French rant.
Yep. I'm going back to calling my patate. I'm not saying French fries anymore. Patate and frite. That's what I'm going to say.
If you wiped out every simile in the book in there, as you did your own. So I have to do an allegory of, you know what? It's not really unusual for sports organizations to require clothing to be this or that. Like the Wimbledon for years would not let you wear anything but white. You had to wear white.
That's true.
White. So, and that's just one private organization. But then again, the French Olympian organization is, it's an image conscious, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got to admit, of all the religions, Muslims are very degrading towards our women. So I think that's what they're really after here is like, why do you got to treat women like that? Why do you got to treat them like that? Why you got to treat them like that? That's what they're saying.
Yeah, but the reminder here is that a lot of these women are actually just choosing to do it because that is part of the religious belief.
Freedom, the circumcision of girls is also freedom of religion. But hey, it's just, to each his own. What do you want to protest? You want to protest the burqas? You want to protest that? I would say, why do you wear that? Because some man's making you wear it? Isn't that
but that's
foolish?
not it, though. Because, right, you're assuming that a man is forcing them to wear them, and you're not taking... The problem with this argument, which is why they've been arguing it for decades at this point, is because they're taking away...
How many women holy leaders?
They're taking away women's agency. They're assuming that everything that women do in Islam is forced on them by men, and that there's no agency. They have their children.
It is forced on them by men.
Who can't make any of their choices.
100% forced on them by men.
No, it isn't, because
you're born with a burqa.
Have you read the Quran? Have you ever practiced?
No, I don't.
Islam? No, you haven't. Okay, so. No. Let me, as somebody who's read some of it, I can tell you that there's a lot of things in there that are just about practicing modesty. That's all it is.
Okay.
That's all it is.
This is a religion that's dominated by men. What you're talking about
specifically is religious states that...
It's dominated by men. The religion itself is dominated by men.
And force it into a requirement to exist. That's what you're arguing against right here, which is totally fine. I agree with you. I agree. There shouldn't be religious states that are forcing women to practice the religion that they practice because, hey, you're living in Iran, you have to practice Islam and you have to do all the Islamic practices. I agree. That's wrong.
You over-explain your point of view. Yeah, you over-explaining your point of view. I'm trying to make my point. My point is, which is getting lost in the haze because you want to re-emphasize the point you've already made, which is, this is wrong for sporting. Okay. But their point as a devil's advocate, not my point. Understand, this is not my point. Their point is, your religion sucks. Why do you treat women like this? And it's the same thing. It's the same thing, but not to the same degree as female circumcision. It's just a different degree. Male gets circumcised and nobody says a damn thing about it, for instance.
Yeah, they should.
Anyway.
I think that's fucked up, too.
In the way, it's my
story. My real problem with this bill is that is a bill, I guess. Like I said, I'm totally fine if, you're a swimming organization, everyone has to wear swim caps, the end. Why is the government passing a bill to enforce it, I guess, is my issue.
My allegory was Wimbledon. Now, spin the wheel.
All right, let's spin the wheel. I think the cat wants to come in my room.
Not the cat. Heard about them talking mice.
And of course, I get another limerick. The wheel loves giving me limerick, I have to say.
This is your first limerick today, isn't it?
Yeah, but I've gotten it many times. This is your first one today, and I've gotten it 5 times.
This is from space.com. This is from space.com. Robert Lee, not the general. Not Robert E. Lee. Robert Lee, L-E-A. That spelling of the name. Exoplanet with iron has violent winds like something out of siren. Iron rain, has violent winds like something out of science fiction. Imagine if you go outside, it's raining iron. What do you do? Not a really strong umbrella. Your titanium umbrella. WASP or WASP-121b is the definition of an extreme exoplanet. It's so hot that it rains droplets of liquid iron. Now, astronomers have discovered that this planet, located around 900 light years away from us, is also ravaged by unexpectedly powerful winds. This represents the first time astronomers have been able to study the atmosphere of a planet outside the solar system in such intricate depth and detail. The WASP-121b winds, discovered by a team of astronomers using a Very Large Telescope, or VLT, located in the Atacama Desert region of northern Chile, carry elements like iron and titanium around the planet, therefore creating intricate weather patterns. That's crazy, man. Molten iron raining from the sky. This planet's atmosphere behaves in ways that challenge our understanding of how weather works, not just on Earth, but on all planets. Team leader and Observatoire de la Côte Azur researcher Julia Victoria Seidel stated in a statement, "It feels like something out of science fiction." Many of the extraordinary features of WASP 121b. Oh, by the way, I did send you a video. I wanted to make sure you knew that. Right now, as you're writing your limerick. Many of the extraordinary features of WASP 121b arise from the fact that it is a ultra-hot Jupiter, a gas giant planet with around 1.2 times as mass of its solar system's namesake. Wow. WASP 122b
actually,
actually,
really sexy Jupiter.
Well, it's raining iron. That's a pretty heavy planet, right? That's got a lot of mass. WASP 121b actually orbits so close to its star that a year there lasts just 30 Earth hours. So a year is 30 hours long. It's so close to its sun. This proximity also means that WASP 120b is tidally locked, meaning one side of the world permanently faces its star, kind of like the moon does to us. Its scorching hot day side, by the way, is the one that faces the sun, and the other side, the night side, is cooler because it faces out to space in perpetuity. Ever been in perpetuity? I've never been there.
No, not personally.
It phases out into space in perpetuity. I mean, in other words, forever, infinitely. Iron and other metals are vaporized on the scorching hot day side and are blown across the planet to its night side, where they condense and fall as liquid metal rains. The atmospheric layers of the hot Jupiter exoplanet WASP 120b. That's what it's called. Jupiter exoplanet, because it's a Jupiter density, I guess. I don't know, Jupiter size, Jupiter, whatever.
I think you're just up there saying it's the most relatable planet to it, and it's exo as in like it's alien to our solar system, right? So I think that's it. Yeah.
Delving deep into the atmosphere of WASP 121b and creating a 3D map of its atmosphere, researchers found different kinds of winds at different layers of the world. They also observed a jet stream spanning half of the planet. They need to give it another new name. WASP 121b is just too cumbersome.
I'm just calling it WASP.
But there's more than one. There's obviously more than one WASP. Because this is 121b. There's a 120a.
Maybe that's the name of the solar system they're in, right? They're calling it the WASP solar system, and this is 21b in the solar system.
Yeah, possibly. Delving deep into the atmosphere of WASP 21b and creating a 3D map of its atmosphere, researchers found different kinds of winds in different layers of the world. They also discovered a jet stream spanning half of the planet. As this jet stream gains speed, it appears to be violently churning up the planet's atmosphere, the exoplanet's atmosphere, high up in the sky as it crosses the line between the planet's night side and day side, moving toward the hotter half. What we found was surprising. A jet stream rotates material around the planet's equator, while a separate flow at lower levels of the atmosphere moves gas from the hot side to its cooler side. This kind of climate has never been seen before on any planet. Wait. So, let's see. This complex mapping of WASP 121b's atmosphere was possible thanks to the VLT instrument ESPRESSO, which stands for E-shell spectrograph for rocky exoplanets and stable spectrographic observations. That's a long acronym. If your acronym's got 8 letters in it, man, you're really working on your acronyms. The VLT combines their light from different telescopes. It analyzes 4 times as much light as available in a single instrument, and it allows it to obtain much fainter details of the planet's atmosphere. The team trained Espresso on WASP 121B for the one full passage in front of its star's force, or one full transit. This let the researchers detect the signature multiple chemicals in the atmosphere of the ultra-hot Jupiter across different atmospheric layers. I guess it's a Jupiter classification of planets. I guess the size of it, I think that's what it is. Okay. The VLT enabled us to probe 3 different layers of the exoplanet's atmosphere in one fell swoop. Leonardo A. dos Santos, team member and researcher of the Space Telescope Science Institute, the STSI, said in a statement. Let's give everybody an acronym. The researchers tracked the movement of iron.
RJ62 or whatever.
No. The researchers tracked the movement of iron, sodium, and hydrogen using these elements to track winds in the deep, middle, and shallow layers of 121B's atmosphere. This kind of observation is very challenging to do with space telescopes, highlighting the importance of ground-based observations of exoplanets. One surprise this investigation delivered was the discovery of titanium lurking just below the jet stream. Previous observation of 121B have shown this element to be absent. This discrepancy could be because the titanium content was hidden deep in the ultra-hot Jupiter's atmosphere. It is truly mind-blowing that we're able to study details like the chemical makeup and weather patterns of a planet at such a vast distance. Bibiana Prinoth, a researcher at Lund University, researcher and author of a companion paper detailing the titanium discovery, said in a statement. The team's research was published on Tuesday, February 18th in the journal Nature. And there's your story on the exoplanet named after Jupiter and raining iron on one side. As the sun melts the iron, the jet stream pulls it around to the dark side island where it gets pelted with liquid iron from the sky. What a wonderful day.
Or
singing in the rain. Just singing.
Vanka in chat says we should call the planet Muspelheim. I don't know what that means. It's probably some Norse thing, but there you go. We'll call it that instead.
We should. That's a good name. Just spell that.
Muspel Heim. Heim. God, I can't spell. Never mind. I won't spell it for you. Oh, here's my limerick.
Now put it in a limerick. Put it in a limerick.
I'm not gonna put that. It's too late. I can't put that in a limerick. But
okay.
There once was a planet so fine, WASP 12B, with heat all divine. It had 2 sides shone, one scorching, one thrown. In internal eclipse, it did shine. So there's your limerick. An internal eclipse. That's really cool. Always day and night on the planet.
Well, okay.
All right, let's roll your segue.
It's really hot. It's legitimately not cool, even on the cold side. Right? Anyway.
Yeah, that's why I said it was so fine, as in it's sexy. The sexy planet. It's hot.
All right, so spin the wheel.
This reminds me of a song. Oh, we haven't rolled this before, I think. Maybe once before. It reminds me of a song. I think we rolled this only once before. This is a rare roll here.
It should be. It's same odds as the rest of them. But I did send you a video, so I don't know if you caught that.
Thank you.
All right. Reminds me of a song. All right.
Let's go to my story, which is about culture. We're talking about treasure hunters. This is by Jill Lawless on AP News, coming out of London. When Malcolm Wheel saw the tiny dirt-covered object he'd unearthed in an English field, he knew it was something special. In his hand was a silver penny minted during the reign of Guthrum, a Viking commander who converted to Christianity and ruled eastern England in the 9th century as Athelstan II. For Wheel, finding the first silver coin minted by a Viking ruler in Britain was the pinnacle of decades of hunting with his metal detector in the fields and forests near his home, eastern England. I was shaken, Will said at the British Museum, where the coin was displayed yesterday on the 18th of February alongside other items unearthed by amateur history hunters in 2023 and 2024. I knew that it was a life-changing, incredible historical find. I'd watched the series Vikings on Netflix, and about a week later I got the Guthrum penny in my hand, he said. It was almost destiny. The thrill of finding fragments of history beneath our feet drives detectorists like 54-year-old Will, who was introduced to the pastime at the age of 7 and was hooked. His find was on a show as the museum released its annual report on the Portable Antiquities Scheme, a government-funded project that records thousands of archaeological discoveries made by the public each year. The coin sat alongside a set of 3,000-year-old bronze metalworkers' tools, a 7th century gold and garnet necklace, and a gold signet ring with an intriguing link to Elizabeth I. They have been officially classed as treasure by a coroner, meaning they will be independently valued and offered to local museums. Do they get to sell them too? Because for me, that's the selling point of treasures. It'd be like, I'm rich! I can sell this to a museum for money! Discoveries by detectorists, as well as beachcombers and mudlarkers, who search for items on riverbanks, shine new light in the corner of British history. The necklace of glittering gold and garnet pendants found in Lincolnshire, Central England, reveals the sophistication of Anglo-Saxon craftsmanship, and it's surprisingly global. Maybe they can use all these treasures they found in their land and give back the ones they stole. Hey, well, how about that, British Museum? Archaeologist Helen Geek, who serves as a fines liaison officer for the Antiquities program, said that this was likely made in England. English craftsmen were by far the best in Europe, says, with garnets from Sri Lanka. Says somebody who studies archaeology. I don't care. Non-biased. English craftsmen were the best in all of Europe. And T. Ackroyd, 49, also struck gold when he was out on a metal detecting near his home in Bedfordshire, Central England. When I first saw it, I thought, oh, it's a coin. Then I saw it's a ring, and I was thinking, 1980s, cheap sovereign ring, Ackroyd said. Oh, imagine throwing away a very expensive old Sri Lankan garnet, because you're like, this is just something from the 80s. Made out of steel. It turned out to be a 16th century signet ring engraved with a phoenix, a mythical bird symbolizing rebirth that was associated with Elizabeth I. Found in an area used as a royal hunting ground in Elizabethan time, it was likely worn and lost by one of the Queen's supporters. When you find it, your journey is just beginning, Ackroyd said. Then comes the questions. What is this? And how is it here? When items are declared treasure, their value is split between the finder and the owner of the land where it's found. Oh yeah, we talked about this before. Yeah, when they found that 1,000-year-old coin stash. What was that? Like 2 months ago they found that huge stash. That was worth £4.3 million, or $5.3 million, which they split between the person who found it and the person's land that it was found on. But the vast majority are in it for the thrill of discovery, not the money, Will said. Yeah, you would say that, wouldn't you? I'm not doing this for money, I just love it. Yeah, you're so humble. You could be the first multi-millionaire, but you could never be by that feeling that you feel when you find something, he said. Oh, I'll give him that much. That's true. When you find, especially me, because I lose things all the time. And then hey, that's where that was. I found it after 3 months of looking for it. It does feel pretty good. Almost like $1 million.
These are Norse coins. These are Norse coins, right?
Yeah, the Norse coins, yeah. The Norse stash that they hid on their, when they were probably out pillaging or something.
They're Viking treasure.
Both he and Ackroyd said they will soon be back to tramping on the fields in the mud, and this is England after all, the rain. You always find the best stuff when the weather's terrible, Will said. Yeah, probably because it washes away all that dirt for you. Both men extol the mental health benefits of the methodical, slow-paced hobby popularized to a wider audience by the gentle BBC sitcom Detectorists. All I'm thinking about when I'm out metal detecting is history, Will says. Kings, queens, I'm totally in the zone. I'm not worried about bills or even keeping warm. Sometimes I even forget to eat. Ackroyd said that some days he just sits watching hares leap and birds of prey soar in the sky. I lost my dad last year. I'll have a chat to my dad when I'm out in the field. Come on, Dad, what way now? Ackroyd said. He never finds me anything. Come on, Dad, you went and died and you didn't come back as a ghost to help me find treasure?
Oh, I thought you just lost them.
Yeah, right? No. But very cool story. Very, I guess the wacky and wondrous world of treasure hunting and how many crazy finds have been going on. Just in England alone, I'm sure there's even more crazy finds on mainland Europe and Asia and America even. America's not that old, but there are older civilizations there. So,
oh yeah,
find some. I know a lot of people. You can even finding an arrowhead. Even finding an arrowhead is counted as an archaeological find. So,
oh yeah,
very, very rare. So, does that remind you of a song?
So, yeah, maybe you can guess the song. I'll play the song.
Immigrant
because
song?
You mentioned Norse. That's right, the immigrant song.
Come from the land of the ice and snow.
Where the midnight sun, where the hot springs flow. Hammer of the gods, we ride our ships to new lands. Fight
leave
the
our
horse,
junk in the ground. Then some guy uses a detector to find it.
And I'm gonna leave my coins in a field. Leave my coins in a farmer's field. He's gonna discover him in 800 years. Anyway, back to you. I'm sorry, spin the wheel because it's my story.
Yeah. Let's
in this
roll
day
the
in
wheel.
history. We're only going back today. What do we got?
Oh, it's just on the cusp, and it landed on reminds me of song. That's crazy. It was almost on accurate metaphor. Wow.
All right. Well, American inventor, we're only going back to 1878, where American inventor Thomas Edison patented the phonograph. Probably didn't invent it, but he patented it just the same because that's what his company did. You know, the phonograph. And we've been listening to music ever since. 1881, Kansas became the first U.S. state to include prohibition of alcoholic beverages in its state constitution. So, Kansas, nothing going on there. Probably a good place to get drunk because there's nothing going on. But too bad you can't drink because you're in Kansas. 1942, an awful decision. U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed the executive order allowing the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. So that happened today in 1942. During many people who are still alive's lifetimes. 1963, American author and activist Betty Friedan published The Feminine Mystique, the landmark work that was a catalyst for the second wave feminist movement. I think the first wave was probably in the 20s with suffrage, the teens in the 20s with suffrage. Probably. I'm saying probably. 1997, Deng Xiaoping passed away at the age of 92. He introduced economic reforms to China in 1978, and he got to be 92. Old Deng Xiaoping. 2008, Fidel Castro resigned as president of Cuba, and he was succeeded by his brother Raul, star of that movie Eating Raul. Not really. Eating Raul. It's an old B movie that used to run on Cinemax. It's about eating people. It's about cannibalism. Anyway. It's funny. It's a funny movie. I think it's actually X-rated, too. Or at least high R. 2016, American author Harper Lee passed away at the age of 89. If you don't know who Harper Lee is, she wrote To Kill a Mockingbird. And was nationally acclaimed for her first novel, To Kill a Mockingbird, which movingly depicts small-town life and racial prejudice. And had one of the great names in literature history, Atticus Finch. You come up with a name like that. More events on this day. 2019 on this day. German fashion photographer Karl Lagerfeld died in Paris. The creative power behind the modern revival of Chanel, the legendary French fashion house founded by Coco Chanel in the early 20th century. So he was taking photographs of, I guess, Chanel. I don't know. Well, anyway, he passed away on this day. It doesn't even say how old he was. It's just not a whole lot of information in the blurb. He was 12. I don't know. The guy in the picture doesn't look that old. But it's probably in the picture again. I don't know. I'm just saying, give me an age. Give me some biography for everybody else. They give an age.
Yeah, how
He was
odd.
140. He was 142. Let's give him an age. Let's make up an age. He was the longest living human of all time. 1945 is this event, is our featured event. Iwo Jima was invaded by U.S. Marines. I've actually been to this place. I've actually been to Iwo Jima. It's way out there in the South Pacific. Way, way out there. It's not some place you just drop in for a cup of tea. On this day in 1945, during the final phases of World War II, U.S. Marines invaded Iwo Jima so as to wrest control of this strategically important island from the Japanese, who put up a fierce resistance in the ensuing battle. Oh yeah, they were in tunnels in the side of a mountain, so they weren't going anywhere easily. Our featured biography, Nicholas Copernicus, Polish astronomer, one of those guys that, hey, you know what? We're actually going around the sun isn't going around us, and they said, take everything. Anyway, born February 19th in 1473 in Torun, Poland. So happy birthday to Copernicus. He died May 24th of 1543 at the age of 70, the ripe old age of 70 in those days, in Frauenburg, Poland. Although people were probably more hardy, I would think, because you had to do a lot more labor just to get through life. Oh, life expectancy was not that great because of disease. Tooth decay was one of the things too. Tooth decay was one of the diseases that people used to die early of. Other birthdays today: Shivaji, Indian king, born in 1630. Lee Marvin, speaking of Marines, Lee Marvin, I believe, landed at Iwo Jima. I'm pretty sure he was an American actor, born in 1924, but I'm pretty sure he was at Iwo Jima. I have to look that up maybe, but 1953
Don't
is
cite
the
us on
birthday
fact
of...
check us there. Yeah.
What's that?
Fact check us there.
I will fact check it. I'm pretty sure Lee Marvin. I know he was a Marine. I just don't remember he was at Iwo Jima or not. He was only 21 when Iwo Jima happened. So anyway, Lee Marvin turns 101 today. Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner, president of Argentina, was born in 1953. She's no longer the president of Argentina. That's that Melly guy. 1959, Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, was born. In 1960, Prince Andrew, everybody's favorite pedophile. If you have a favorite, some people don't have a favorite pedophile, but the world's most famous and rich one, Prince Andrew, Duke of York, was born on this day in 1960. So happy birthday to him, I guess. And it's National Day. Next National Day is it? It is National Chocolate Mint Day. That's one of the best ice creams there is. National Lash Day. If you have lashes, as camera. If you have lashes, it's your day, which everybody has those, unless you're in some kind of horrible fire. National Vet Girls Rise Day. Vet Girls Rise, I guess, is take into account of all the veterans that are of the female persuasion, Vet Girls Rise. Persuasion. I don't think that's a persuasion. That's who you are. National Arabian Horse Day also. It's hold your horses. It's National Arabian Horse Day. So there's your bad pun. So there's your days, there's your bad puns, there's your limericks, and all other assorted nonsense from February 19th, 2025 on before. Chocolate mint ice cream. It's got a picture of
Chocolate mint ice cream. This reminds me of a song. I guess Behind Blue Eyes. If we're talking about eyelashes, there you go. Reminds me of that song.
It took you that long. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, other songs about people. I don't know if there's an autobiographical or biographical.
Hey, no, I'm just making a comment. Don't be offended. I'm just making a comment.
All right, this has been Allison here from the Netherlands. Roger from West Coast of the U.S.
Sharp. I'm not exactly sharp today.
As we tie up another Wacky and Weird Wednesday, where we've covered all the wacky and weird stories and the wacky and weird things planets, animals, and people are doing out there. We'll see you tomorrow for Thursday's 13, where we count down 13 things on a list. Don't know if we have a list planned yet.
Oh, wow.
We don't.
Let's get on that.
Yeah, we got to get on that. So we'll make sure you're subscribed to the channel, have the notifications on, so that you know when we go live tomorrow for our Thursday's 13 list. So it'll be a surprise for both of us, it looks like. Don't forget to like the video, comment down below your limerick about wasp, or as we're starting to call it, what are we calling again? Moose Fulheim. We'll call it that instead. That's his name now. Sorry, scientists, we've changed the name. And let's go to our mic drop moment.
In New Jersey,
get our sinkhole
lanes of I-80 closed
footage
at
in.
exit 34 in Wharton. Transportation officials say crews
sinkholes are very
filling the
it's even worse when it's on the road.
That's about 4 feet deep. The DOT says testing
because those are usually in the middle of nowhere. If you have a sinkhole in a neighborhood, usually those are pretty close to utilities and stuff.
And look at this. It obviously
you don't have to make a lot of travel to get there. This was like last year, wasn't it? This sinkhole?
Nearby businesses say they're losing money because
this is recent.
Really?
Get to them.
Oh, okay.
This is 6 days ago.
Really? Oh, wow.
By, people would be
a lot of sinkholes on the
unfortunately, that's not the case.
Interstates.
Monday night we were down 50%. Last night we were also down 50% after
Naughty
6
Pine
o'clock.
Pub owner.
Officials say December's sinkhole was caused by the collapse of an abandoned mine shaft, which runs under.
Oh, yeah, that's usually what it is. When we did that other sinkhole story, it was abandoned mine shafts.
By the state's Department of Labor.
It costs too much money to fill them back up with dirt, which they really should, you know.
No word yet.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.